right, guys, Captain Blair here with the Indian River Clam Restoration Project. We are releasing clams today. We are way down south at University of Florida's southernmost point down here in the Indian River, just south of Fort Pierce Inlet and the power plant. And these are actually clams that we raised from this size here. These are the fresh spawners, the latest spawners that we just got, but they grow into these and they filter a lot of water. So we're going to be planting these out here today along with the seagrass project that University of Florida is doing. And it's kind of in conjunction with the seagrass project to see how they do together. They have a symbiotic relationship really where the clams and the seagrass work together. The clams poop in the soil and it fertilizes the seagrass and helps the seagrass grow. So anywhere where there's seagrass beds, let us know and we'll come put clams out there. Right now we're putting these out. What's up, guys? Sorry to take you away from the action right now, but I do want to give you an update on the Indian River Clam Restoration Project. We are in numbers that have only been a dream for me, and Dr. Todd from Whitney Labs is going to tell us all about what's going on here. So what have we accomplished so far?
Yeah, we have accomplished a lot, Blair, and a lot of this is due to your efforts to bring this project into the bigger picture. And so right now we're at about just a little over 15 million clams we've planted in the last couple of years. You know, that's a triumph as it is, just that alone. But you know, this program continues to ramp up. We've got more volunteers, more support. Our goals for the next 24 months is to double that number. So we have support already to do that, and we're looking for more support to increase that again. I mean, we're seeing positive results, right?
Yes, positive results.
You're seeing things on your end.
Well, Jim Ross just the other day, he called me yesterday and he said just the other day he had two of his buddies that were out fishing across from Port St. John, and just to the north of there, we released, what, 580,000 clams, something like that. That was right when COVID first started. So in the past 3 years from those, or actually 2 years now, right?
Now it's been 2.5 years since we planted those.
2.5 years, they are spawning because the guys that Jim Ross was talking to were fishing the islands just south of where we put the clam beds, and they're finding the little baby clams that were not there before. And the only explanation, the reason that they're there is because of us and what we've done with the Clam Restoration Project and what Todd has done up at Whitney Labs, University of Florida, and everybody's effort from CCA to Mike Sullivan with Commander Seafood. It's a dream come true for me, and these guys, it wouldn't happen without them. So anything you guys can do to make more awareness about the Clam Project and about how to keep our rivers clean by not fertilizing, picking up trash when you see it out there. Be a do-gooder like Corey Redwine started a TikTok
Absolutely.
page. Do-gooders out there, and I've seen hundreds of people out there picking up trash out of the ocean, the balloons from the cruise industry and those guys. But yeah, picking up a lot of trash out of the ocean.
Everything you can do makes a difference, like Blair said, and I think that it's really important to remember that all of these projects that you see and hear going on are all links in that chain to fix the Indian River Lagoon. And each one of them has its place. And I think, at least from our perspective, we're really happy to be involved in one that is successful. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the juvenile clams coming up in places they've been absent from for 15 years. We're seeing veligers, which is a baby or a larval clam in its swimming stage, in all of our sites this past year. So
this is the southernmost point that we've put clams out so far, and it's in conjunction with University of Florida here and their seagrass program.
Well, so this site is our southernmost site. We're in Port St. Lucie today, and we were with Florida Oceanographic Society here on the back of their property. If you haven't visited their ocean aquarium here is tremendous. Facility for education, but they've granted us space and have been collaborating with us, and their program is doing seagrass. So we've gotten to a point now where we're doing both together, which I think is like the next step. The logical step for us is to say, well, we're putting the clams back, let's start getting the seagrasses too. And
well, it's kind of, wind's picking up. Well, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship between clams and seagrass, because when a clam poops, it poops down into the water, down into the mud column, and the seagrass actually uses that for fertilizer. Unlike if it was an oyster, it just put it out in the water column and it would, you know, free to disperse that way and doesn't get used. But a clam is very useful for seagrass. So
we know there's a really strong mutual relationship there. Haven't figured out all the details of that, but it seems like that's exactly the case. They're pulling all the stuff out of the water column and clarifying the water, which allows the sunlight to get down to the seagrasses. And then all that stuff that they have filtered out, like you said, is released then down at the bottom where the seagrass roots are, and we think that that's a real important ecological link. And putting those two out together, we expect to see added benefit to co-restoration with those two species.
What was cool today too, when we released clams today, they were actually, the big clams that we released were actually spawned from the clams that they originally got, the original 39 from the south end of Mosquito Lagoon. And those clams today are this big compared to when we put them out. They were the size of a pea. So,
and they're ripe too, which means they're ready to spawn. By the time, I bet you by tomorrow, those clams have spawned. We pulled them out of warm water. We cold stored them for a couple of days. After we sorted them, we brought them down here and we planted them back in warm water. That cycle, I bet you they spawn right there by tomorrow.
Well, they're in close enough proximity for the magic to happen. That's so right. And it's happening all up and down. The clam farmers up and down the Indian River Lagoon system are putting our beds out, and they're in such close proximity together that when they do spawn, and when one clam spawns, they all spawn at the same time. This man's taught me more about a clam than I've ever thought I'd ever know. But when they spawn, they all spawn at once, and the magic that happens when they're in close proximity to that, the fertilization rate just goes sky high. And the big problem that we had in the Indian River Lagoon system was when it was a free-for-all commercial industry down here, and you had 10,000 boats on the water, and they raked out all the clams, and they didn't get them all, but what they did, they took it down to point of non-sustainability, which means we still had some clams left, but they weren't in that close enough proximity. When they spawned, the magic didn't happen. So we're making the magic happen, and it's happening.
It's happening. I think we're seeing success. So I appreciate it, man.
Thank you,
You've
brother.
been a huge piece of this process, and we couldn't have done it without your momentum. So there's a constant gratitude for that.
I just finally screamed loud enough and somebody heard. CCA, thanks once again for putting everybody together to get this project off the ground. Without you guys, it would not be here. So support CCA, and if you're not a member, become a member, because they do great things for the environment.